Well, hi there, everybody. Good morning to you. Meteorologist Travis Kleneski. We're starting off our Tuesday very comfortable. There are still a few spotty showers in eastern Nebraska around the Omaha area, but that's about it. Skies have otherwise been clearing out, and we should see quite a bit of sunshine for the day today. Your temperatures out there are going to warm up quite a bit above average out there. Much warmer air on the way, not just today, but for the rest of this week. Now, overnight tonight, kind of like last night, there could be a couple of hit or miss showers. Isolated thunderstorms out there. Not a great chance, but there is a chance. You see Futurecast isn't showing much. Some other models do have some activity out there. Severe weather threat is relatively low, but can't completely rule it out. That said, there's not even a marginal threat out from the Storm Prediction Center, so it's not a great chance of seeing it, that's for sure. Still a small chance of rain and isolated thunderstorms tomorrow morning, but by the afternoon we're getting lots of sunshine to return. Another warm day, a bit of a breezy southerly wind out there for your Wednesday. But then we're really going to start to bring in the heat as we move into the end of the week, Thursday, Friday time frame here. So let's look at your highs for today into the 80s. Low, mid 80s, pretty common, maybe even upper 80s there in southwest Nebraska. Another mild night ahead of us. Most of us will be staying in the 50s for overnight lows, some 40s out in western Nebraska. And then temperatures tomorrow, once again back into the 80s, maybe even a few upper 80s out west. So another very warm Wednesday on the way. Wednesday night, as we look into the nighttime hours, even warmer overnight lows, 50s and even some 60s out there. And way out west, Panhandle around 50 degrees, so even a little warmer there. Of course, with drier air, you usually cool down a little bit more in the Panhandle than you do in eastern Nebraska. But then watch this. Here comes Thursday. 90s, lots of 90s in store. A lot of low 90s, perhaps a couple of mid 90s. Maybe still a few upper 80s out there, but certainly going to start to crank up the heat just a little bit more. So we're getting to the point where the air conditioner is going to be a good idea. I turned mine on early this morning before I left the house, knowing that we're probably going to need it later on today. And we're going to keep it toasty heading into your end of the week Friday as well here. So again, I only have that one small chance of rain and thunderstorms later on tonight, tomorrow morning for the local 4 Tri-Cities area. Wednesday night, it's very iffy right now. It's a pretty slim chance, about a 10% chance we might see something, but it's not a very good chance. But things will turn stormier towards the end of this forecast. So Friday, another toasty day, windier conditions. We're going to see those southerly winds really pick up. So by the afternoon, we're talking about 20, 25 mile per hour sustained winds, gusts even higher than that. And that's going to draw some Gulf of Mexico moisture up into our area. So we're talking about dew points into the 60s. And as a trough gets moving into the plains from the Rockies out in the west here, and we'll see a dry line approach here, by the late afternoon and evening hours, showers and storms look to fire up, and severe weather would be pretty likely with those storms. Now, as of right now, the Storm Prediction Center, while they don't do really tight forecast-driven forecasts for forecast beyond the next 3 days, they do kind of give you a summary of the long range. And right now they do target Friday with a good chance of severe weather up and down the plains from here in Nebraska all the way down to Texas. And so we're certainly going to have to keep a heightened awareness for Friday late afternoon and evening hours. I don't think we're going to see widespread thunderstorms all over the place on Friday, but anything that does fire has the potential to become severe. So we're certainly going to have to watch that time frame closely. Now, things get a little more iffy by the weekend and into early next week. And basically what this means is that it's all about timing of frontal boundaries, how storms the night before interact with boundaries to maybe affect where the placement of those would be the next day. So we could be cooling back into the 70s on Saturday, although some models, they're still keeping us in the 80s on Saturday. But we may still have to watch the forecast Saturday for more severe weather. Saturday's still a day worth watching. Sunday is probably the day I'd be less concerned about severe weather. I have upper 60s there. That's cooler, more stable air. Some models are still keeping us a little bit warmer on Sunday. Then it looks like the atmosphere is going to get recharged ahead of another trough that's going to approach from the western United States as we get into early next week. And so our chances of severe weather may go back up on Monday. Now it will all be about, though, where frontal boundaries will be. So I have Sunday 70 degrees there for Monday for a high. Some models do bring in that warm air a little farther north, and we may even be closer to 80. But wherever that frontal boundary is, we're going to have to watch that close, because I think Monday is another day certainly worth watching. Could it be just us or just those in southeast Nebraska? Could it be those of us closer to the Tri-Cities area? Still not sure on that right now here, but certainly a 3-day time or 4-day time frame where 3 of those days will be worth watching, and I'm even keeping an eye on things further into next week as we get later in the week. More severe weather may be a possibility. So again, there are still a lot of question marks right now, I'll tell you that, when it comes to the long range forecast, but I'm just going to tell you right now, we're getting into this weather pattern where severe weather becomes a little more likely, and Friday's the first day of that. Late Friday into Friday night will be certainly a day worth watching. So as I'll always say, we're still 4 days out from this. 5 days, 6 days, 7 days out from that long range forecast. So it takes, we got to get a little bit closer to those time frames before we get better ideas of how things may play out. But I'm just saying right now, stay tuned to the forecast, because severe weather, we may have to start getting into severe weather mode. We're getting it into that time of the year anyway where we start to focus on severe weather a little bit more, and I think that's going to be the case towards the end of this forecast, at least the second half of this forecast. So with that, I'm going to let you all go. Again, continue to monitor the forecast in the coming days ahead. As always, I'm meteorologist Travis Kleneski. I want to thank you all for watching this morning. Have a wonderful Tuesday. Stay cool out there these next couple of days. God bless. Bye.